Chapters 40 to 46, Book 10, Volume 2 of Morte Darthur. This is a Librvox recording. All Librvox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Reading by Lars Rolander. Morte Darthur, Volume 2, by Sir Thomas Malory. Chapter 40. But, as the book saith, King Mark would never stint till he had slain him by treason. And by Alice he gat a child that hight Belengerus le Beuse. And by good fortune he came to the court of King Arthur, and proved a passing good knight, and he revenged his father's death, for the false King Mark slew both Sir Tristram and Alisander falsely and feloniously. And it happened so that Alisander had never grace nor fortune to come to King Arthur's court, for an he had come to Sir Launcelot, all knights said that knew him he was one of the strongest knights that was in Arthur's days, and great dole was made for him. So let we of him pass, and turn we to another tale. So it befell that Sir Galahalt, the haut prince, was lord of the country of Surluse, whereof came many good knights. And this noble prince was a passing good man of arms, and ever he held a noble fellowship together. And then he came to Arthur's court, and told him his intent, how this was his will, how he would let cry a jousts in the country of Surluse, the which country was within the lands of King Arthur, and there he asked leave to let cry a jousts. I will give you leave, said King Arthur. But wit thou well, said King Arthur, I may not be there. Sir, said Queen Guenever, please it you to give me leave to be at that jousts. With right good will, said Arthur, for Sir Galahalt the haut prince shall have you in governance. Sir, said Galahalt, I will as ye will. Sir, then the queen, I will take with me Sir Launcelot, and such knights as please me best. Do as ye list, said King Arthur. So anon she commanded Sir Launcelot to make him ready with such knights as he thought best. So in every good town and castle of this land was made a cry, that in the country of Surluse Sir Galahalt should make a joust, that should last 8 days, and how the haut prince with the help of Queen Guenever's knights should joust against all manner of men that would come. When this cry was known, kings and princes, dukes and earls, barons and noble knights made them ready to be at the jousts. And at the day of jousting there came in Sir Dinadan disguised, and did many great deeds of arms. Chapter 41. Then at the request of Queen Guenever and of King Bagdemagus, Sir Launcelot came into the range, but he was disguised, and that was the cause that few folk knew him, and there met with Sir Ector de Maris, his own brother, and either brake their spears upon other to their hands, and then either gat another spear, and then Sir Launcelot smote down Sir Ector de Maris, his own brother. That saw Sir Bleoberis, and he smote Sir Launcelot such a buffet upon the helm that he wist not well where he was. Then Sir Launcelot was wrothy, and smote Sir Bleoberis so sore upon the helm that his head bowed down backward. And he smote eft another buffet, that he avoided his saddle, and so he rode by, and thrust forth to the thickest. When the King of Northgalis saw Sir Ector and Bleoberis lie on the ground, then was he wroth, for they came on his party against them of Surluse. So the King of Northgalis ran to Sir Launcelot, and brake a spear upon him all to pieces. Therewith Sir Launcelot overtook the King of Northgalis, and smote him such a buffet on the helm with his sword that he made him to avoid his horse, and anon the king was horsed again. So both the King Bagdemagus and the King of Northgalis' party hurled to other, and then began a strong medley, but they of Northgalis were far bigger. When Sir Launcelot saw his party go to the worst, he thrang into the thickest press with a sword in his hand, and there he smote down on the right hand and on the left hand, and pulled down knights and raced off their helms, that all men had wonder that ever one knight might do such deeds of arms. When Sir Meliagaunce, that was son unto King Bagdemagus, saw how Sir Launcelot fared, he marvelled greatly; and when he understood that it was he wist well that he was disguised for his sake. Then Sir Meliagaunce prayed a knight to slay Sir Launcelot's horse, either with sword or with spear. At that time King Bagdemagus met with a knight that hight Sauseise, a good knight, to whom he said: Now, fair Sauseise, encounter with my son Meliagaunce, and give him large payment, for I would he were well beaten of thy hands, that he might depart out of this field. And then Sir Sauseise encountered with Sir Meliagaunce, and either smote other down, and then they fought on foot, and there Sauseise had won Sir Meliagaunce, had there not come rescues. So then the haut prince blew to lodging, and every knight unarmed him and went to the great feast. Then in the meanwhile there came a damosel to the haut prince, and complained that there was a knight that hight Goneries, that withheld her all her lands. Then the knight was there present, and cast his glove to her or to any that would fight in her name. So the damosel took up the glove all heavily for default of a champion. Then there came a varlet to her and said: Damosel, will ye do after me? Full fain, said the damosel. Then go you unto such a knight that lieth here beside in a hermitage, and that followeth the questing beast, and pray him to take the battle upon him, and anon I wot well he will grant you. So anon she took her palfrey, and within a while she found that knight, that was Sir Palomides. And when she required him he armed him and rode with her, and made her to go to the haut prince, and to ask leave for her knight to do battle. I will well, said the haut prince. Then the knights were ready in the field to joust on horseback, and either gat a spear in their hands, and met so fiercely together that their spears all to shivered. Then they flang out swords, and Sir Palomides smote Sir Goneries down to the earth, and then he raced off his helm and smote off his head. Then they went to supper, and the damosel loved Palomides as paramour, but the book says she was of his kin. So then Palomides disguised himself in this manner: in his shield he bare the questing beast, and in all his trappings. And when he was thus ready he sent to the haut prince to give him leave to joust with other knights, but he was adoubted of Sir Launcelot. The haut prince sent him word again that he should be welcome, and that Sir Launcelot should not joust with him. Then Sir Galahalt, the haut prince, let cry what knight somever he were that smote down Sir Palomides should have his damosel to himself. Chapter 42. Here beginneth the second day. Anon as Sir Palomides came into the field, Sir Galahalt, the haut prince, was at the range end, and met with Sir Palomides, and he with him, with great spears. And then they came so hard together that their spears all to shivered. But Sir Galahalt smote him so hard that he bare him backward over his horse, but yet he lost not his stirrups. Then they drew their swords, and lashed together many sad strokes, that many worshipful knights left their business to behold them. But at the last Sir Galahalt, the haut prince, smote a stroke of might unto Palomides sore upon the helm, but the helm was so hard that the sword might not bite, but slipped and smote off the head of the horse of Sir Palomides. When the haut prince wist and saw the good knight fall unto the earth, he was ashamed of that stroke, and therewith he alighted down off his own horse, and prayed the good knight Palomides to take that horse of his gift, and to forgive him that deed. Sir, said Palomides, I thank you of your great goodness, for ever of a man of worship a knight shall never have disworship. And so he mounted upon that horse, and the haut prince had another anon. Now, said the haut prince, I release to you that maiden, for ye have won her. Ah, said Palomides, the damosel and I be at your commandment. So they departed, and Sir Galahalt did great deeds of arms. And right so came Dinadan and encountered with Sir Galahalt, and either came to other so fast with their spears that their spears brake to their hands. But Dinadan weened the haut prince had been more weary than he was. And then he smote many sad strokes at the haut prince. But when Dinadan saw he might not get him to the earth, he said, My lord, I pray you leave me and take another. The haut prince knew not Dinadan, and left goodly for his fair words. And so they departed, but soon there came another, and told the haut prince that it was Dinadan. Forsooth, said the prince, therefore am I heavy that he is so escaped from me, for with his mocks and japes now shall I never have done with him. And then Galahalt rode fast after him and bade him, Abide, Dinadan, for King Arthur's sake. Nay, said Dinadan, so God me help we meet no more together this day. Then in that wrath the haut prince met with Meliagaunce, and he smote him in the throat that an he had fallen his neck had broken. And with the same spear he smote down another knight. Then came in they of Northgalis and many strangers, and were like to have put them of Surluse to the worse, for Sir Galahalt the haut prince had ever much in hand. So there came the good knight Semound the Valiant with 40 knights, and he beat them all back. Then the Queen Guenever and Sir Launcelot let blow to lodging, and every knight unarmed him and dressed him to the feast. Chapter 43. When Palomides was unarmed, he asked lodging for himself and the damosel. Anon the haut prince commanded them to lodging. And he was not so soon in his lodging but there came a knight that hight Archade. He was brother unto Goneries that Palomides slew afore in the damosel's quarrel. And this knight Archade called Sir Palomides traitor, and appealed him for the death of his brother. By the leave of the haut prince, said Palomides, I shall answer thee. When Sir Galahalt understood their quarrel, he bade them go to dinner. And as soon as ye have dined, look that either knight be ready in the field. So when they had dined they were armed both, and took their horses, and the queen and the prince and Sir Launcelot were set to behold them. And so they let run their horses, and there Sir Palomides bare Archade on his spear over his horse's tail. And then Palomides alighted and drew his sword, but Sir Archade might not arise. And there Sir Palomides raised off his helm and smote off his head. Then the haut prince and Queen Guenever went unto supper. Then King Bagdemagus sent away his son Meliagaunce, because Sir Launcelot should not meet with him, for he hated Sir Launcelot, and that knew he not. Chapter 44. Now beginneth the 3rd day of jousting, and at that day King Bagdemagus made him ready, and there came against him King Marsil, that had in gift an island of Sir Galahalt the haut prince, and this island had the name Pomitane. Then it befell that King Bagdemagus and King Marsil of Pomitane met together with spears, and King Marsil had such a buffet that he fell over his horse's croup. Then came therein a knight of King Marsil to revenge his lord, and King Bagdemagus smote him down, horse and man, to the earth. So there came an earl that hight Arrouse, and Sir Breuse, and 100 knights with them of Pomitane, and the King of Northgalis was with them, and all these were against them of Surluse. And then there began great battle, and many knights were cast under horses' feet. And ever King Bagdemagus did best, for he first began, and ever he held on. Gaheris, Gawaine's brother, smote ever at the face of King Bagdemagus, and at the last King Bagdemagus hurled down Gaheris, horse and man. Then by adventure Sir Palomides the good knight met with Sir Blamore de Ganis, Sir Bleoberis' brother, and either smote other with great spears, that both their horses and knights fell to the earth. But Sir Blamore had such a fall that he had almost broken his neck, for the blood brast out of nose, mouth, and his ears. But at the last he recovered well by good surgeons. Then there came in the Duke Chaleins of Clarence, and in his governance there came a knight that hight Elis la Noire, and there encountered with him King Bagdemagus, and he smote Elis that he made him to avoid his saddle. So the Duke Chaleins of Clarence did there great deeds of arms, and of so late as he came in the third day there was no man did so well except King Bagdemagus and Sir Palomides, that the prize was given that day to King Bagdemagus. And then they blew unto lodging, and unarmed them, and went to the feast. Right so came Dinadan, and mocked and japed with King Bagdemagus, that all knights laughed at him, for he was a fine japer, and well loving all good knights. So anon as they had dined there came a varlet bearing 4 spears on his back, and he came to Palomides and said thus: Here is a knight by hath sent you the choice of 4 spears, and requires you for your lady's sake to take that one half of these spears, and joust with him in the field. Tell him, said Palomides, I will not fail him. When Sir Galahalt wist of this, he bade Palomides make him ready. So the Queen Guenever, the haut prince, and Sir Launcelot, they were set upon scaffolds to give the judgment of these 2 knights. Then Sir Palomides and the strange knight ran so eagerly together that their spears brake to their hands. Anon withal either of them took a great spear in his hand, and all 2 shivered them in pieces. And then either took a greater spear, and then the knight smote down Sir Palomides, horse and man, to the earth, and as he would have passed over him the strange knight's horse stumbled and fell down upon Palomides. Then they drew their swords and lashed together wonderly sore a great while. Then the haut prince and Sir Launcelot said they saw never 2 knights fight better than they did. But ever the strange knight doubled his strokes, and put Palomides aback. Therewithal the haut prince cried Ho! And then they went to lodging. And when they were unarmed they knew it was the noble knight Sir Lamorak. When Sir Launcelot knew that it was Sir Lamorak he made much of him, for above all earthly men he loved him best except Sir Tristram. Then Queen Guenever commended him, and so did all other good knights make much of him, except Sir Gawaine's brethren. Then Queen Guenever said unto Sir Launcelot: Sir, I require you that an ye joust any more, that ye joust with none of the blood of my lord Arthur. So he promised he would not as at that time. CHAPTER 45. Here beginneth the 4th day. Then came into the field the king with the 100 knights, and all they of Northgalis, and the Duke Chaleins of Clarence, and King Marsil of Pomitain. And there came Safere, Palomides' brother, and there he told him tidings of his mother. And his name was called the Earl, and so he appealed him afore King Arthur. For he made war upon our father and mother, and there I slew him in plain battle. So they went into the field, and the damosel with them. And there came to encounter again them Sir Bleoberis de Ganis and Sir Ector de Maris. Sir Palomides encountered with Sir Bleoberis, and either smote other down. And in the same wise did Sir Safere and Sir Ector, and the 2 couples did battle on foot. Then came in Sir Lamorak, and he encountered with the King with the 100 Knights, and smote him quite over his horse's tail. And in the same wise he served the King of Northgalis, and also he smote down King Marsil. And so or ever he stint he smote down with his spear and with his sword 30 knights. When Duke Chaleins saw Lamorak do so great prowess, he would not meddle with him for shame. And then he charged all his knights in pain of death that none of you touch him, for it were shame to all good knights an that knight were shamed. Then the two kings gathered them together, and all they set upon Sir Lamorak, and he failed them not, but rushed here and there, smiting on the right hand and on the left, and razed off many helms, so that the haut prince and Queen Guenever said they saw never knight do such deeds of arms on horseback. Alas, said Launcelot to King Bagdemagus, I will arm me and help Sir Lamorak. And I will ride with you, said King Bagdemagus. And when they two were horsed they came to Sir Lamorak, that stood among 30 knights, and well was him that might reach him a buffet, and ever he smote again mightily. Then came there into the press Sir Launcelot, and he threw down Sir Mador de la Porte, and with the truncheon of that spear he threw down many knights. And King Bagdemagus smote on the left hand and on the right hand marvellously well. And then the three kings fled aback. Therewithal then Sir Galahalt let blow to lodging, and all the heralds gave Sir Lamorak the prize. And all this while fought Palomides, Sir Bleoberis, Sir Safere, Sir Ector on foot. Never were there 4 knights evener matched. And then they were departed, and had unto their lodging, and unarmed them, and so they went to the great feast. But when Sir Lamorak was come into the court, Queen Guenever took him in her arms and said: Sir, well have ye done this day. Then came the haut prince and made of him great joy, and so did Dinadan, for he wept for joy. But the joy that Sir Launcelot made of Sir Lamorak there might no man tell. Then they went unto rest, and on the morn the haut prince let blow unto the field. Chapter 46. Here beginneth the 5th day. So it befell that Sir Palomides came in the morntide, and proffered to joust thereas King Arthur was in a castle there beside Sir Luse, and there encountered with him a worshipful duke, and there Sir Palomides smote him over his horse's croup, and this duke was uncle unto King Arthur. Then Sir Elise's son rode unto Palomides, and Palomides served Elise in the same wise. When Sir Uwaine saw this he was wroth. Then he took his horse and encountered with Sir Palomides, and Palomides smote him so hard that he went to the earth, horse and man. And for to make a short tale, he smote down 3 brethren of Sir Gawaine, that is for to say Mordred, Gaheris, and Agravaine. O Jesu, said Arthur, this is a great despite of a Saracen, that he shall smite down my own blood. And therewithal King Arthur was wood wroth, and thought to have made him ready to joust. That espied Sir Lamorak that Arthur and his blood were discomfit, and anon he was ready, and asked Palomides if he would any more joust. Why should I not? said Palomides. Then they hurtled together and brake their spears, and all to shivered them, that all the castle rang of their dints. Then either gat a greater spear in his hand, and they came so fiercely together, but Sir Palomides' spear all to brast, and Sir Lamorak's did hold. Therewithal Sir Palomides lost his stirrups, and lay upright on his horse's back, and then Sir Palomides returned again, and took his damosel, and Sir Safere returned his way. So when he was departed, King Arthur came to Sir Lamorak, and thanked him of his goodness, and prayed him to tell him his name. Sir, said Lamorak, wit thou well I owe you my service, but as at this time I will not abide here, for I see of mine enemies many about me. Alas, said Arthur, now wot I well it is Sir Lamorak de Galis. O Lamorak, abide with me, and by my crown I shall never fail thee, and not so hardy in Gawaine's head, nor none of his brethren, to do thee any wrong. Sir, said Sir Lamorak, wrong have they done me, and to you both. That is truth, said the king, for they slew their own mother and my sister, the which me sore grieveth. It had been much fairer and better that ye had wedded her, for ye are a king's son as well as they. O Jesu, said the noble knight Sir Lamorak unto Arthur, her death shall I never forget. I promise you and make mine avow unto God, I shall revenge her death as soon as I see time convenable; and if it were not at the reverence of your highness, I should now have been revenged upon Sir Gawaine and his brethren. Truly, said Arthur, I will make you at accord. Sir, said Lamorak, as at this time I may not abide with you, for I must to the jousts where is Sir Launcelot and the haut prince Sir Galahalt. Then there was a damosel that was daughter to King Bandes, and there was a Saracen knight that hight Corsabrin, and he loved the damosel, and in no wise he would suffer her to be married, for ever this Corsabrin noised her, and named her that she was out of her mind, and thus he let her that she might not be married. End of Book 10, chapters 40 to 46. Read by Lars Rolander.